Hello, how are you doing? So I got some messages from my students and I just wanted to talk about their responses. So I sent a message to all of them first and I asked them a bunch of questions about what are the benefits of studying English? Why do we need to study English now? Do you think America is slowing down in controlling the world, let's say? The European Union, there's a battle in Europe about which language they should use, and some politicians have said maybe use French and things like that. So I just said, what's the benefits of learning English? And they give me some of their answers, and I want to tell you what my reply to that is. So the first question was, the first answer was about career and academic opportunities. So most universities in the world now, they teach in English, and that's because most scientific papers, if you like, or research papers are published in English, basically. So if you want to be involved in research, then you need to be able to write papers in English if you want a wider audience or the majority of the scientific community to read them and use them. And obviously, even academia, they make money. Sorry about the wind. They make money for themselves from their papers. I don't know if you know that, but they do. So in business language of the world, I've taught English for over 20 years, and I've taught business English as well to many different people in many different countries, either by actually being in the country or teaching online. So everybody wants to learn English if they're in business. Now, how does that translate to incentives, money? It's about money. If you want a higher salary, you have to be able to read, understand, communicate, listen to English. You have to be able to do that. If you can't do it, then you can't expect a large salary, unless, of course, you own the company. And then it doesn't matter. You can just hire translators. So that's another reason. Diplomacy, politics. It's not just about native speakers. So you, being an English language learner, the focus always seems to be on native speakers, but it shouldn't be. It should be on other people. I always say to my students, it's not about speaking to an English person, American, Canadian, or whatever. It's about communicating with other cultures, nationalities in English. So whether you're from some African country, communicating with someone from some Asian country or European country, that's the language that everybody learns and uses to communicate in. So next area, global communication, travel. I see this with a lot of elderly people who enroll on my classes. So they want to travel more after they're retired. So they're retired and they want to be able to speak English. There seems to be a last chance situation with retired people who join my class. They want the last chance to learn English and communicate in the language to people wherever they are. If you go to a very popular resort, Thailand, people speak English. If you go to Spain, the resorts, Turkey, they learn English because they want to communicate with tourists. So that's another reason to learn English. Travel. Information. if you look at every country, they'll have an English speaking newspaper. There's a website, I think it was called The Big Project, and it was a link to every English speaking newspaper from most countries. And I used to use it quite a lot because I used it to teach people in certain countries about their country in English, and it helped. So communication, you've got the news, TV, movies. If you go on Netflix, most movies are dubbed in English. Now you could argue that, language dubbing goes both ways, but if you look at the majority, it's in English, because that's where the market is. Benefits of learning English. Now there are cognitive benefits. Don't know if you know this, but people who study languages, and it applies to music as well, they have lower incidence of forms of Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, because they're keeping their brain active. So that's another reason why elderly people like to learn English. It's because of that reason as well. So it has health benefits. So official language, 70 to 80 countries, including Australia, New Zealand, UK, USA, Canada, Nigeria. There's also the Philippines. There are other English-speaking countries. I mean, you've got millions in India that are comfortable with the language. So it makes travel easier. So basically, it revolves around money. If another country conquers, becomes the dominant global country, and they don't speak English, say China for instance, people speak English in China, but I've lived there for 2 years, it's not that great in society. The younger people you might have, but I'm pretty sure, looking at what the Chinese government have done in terms of signage in the country, they took down lots of English signs when I was there, and they just had Chinese signs because they want people to learn Chinese. So if China become the leading power, then there's no guarantee that English will survive. Everyone would have to learn Chinese. I mean, that would take absolute decades to implement. But like I said, money talks. Money's the main thing. It's the most dominant thing. Don't fool yourself. I say this to my younger students. Most younger students, they do not want to learn English. They learn English because their parents force them to. And so you have to incentivize the students differently, with rewards, immediate rewards and things like that. The reward for adults is money and fear, because they want a better job. They couldn't see the correlation when they were younger. And I always say to students, if they're young enough, teenagers especially, I said, I know you don't like this language, but let's just try and make it a bit more fun for you. And the reason your parents want you to learn this is because there's a higher chance you'll get a better job when you're old enough and you need to support yourself. And I just try and drill at home that it might not be the most fun language in the world, because it's not like ice cream, is it? When people say I love English, really you love it, you're excited about it, are you? I'm realistic, and most people don't. It's necessity, and the incentive is eventually money, usually. So thanks for watching. If you have any comments on this, I really like to hear what you've got to say. I'm sorry about the wind, it just came from nowhere. And keep watching my videos. I'm uploading lots and lots of different types of videos and style. So I'm uploading videos relating to the news. I'm working on videos relating to TV and music. I'm also creating grammar lessons and vocabulary lessons. My aim is to create lessons for all levels. So especially IELTS as well. People find IELTS difficult. So I've taught IELTS for a long time, and I just want to put my knowledge of how to combat. It's like a fight. Beat IELTS. IELTS is a problem for people, and there's too much cheating going on in IELTS, I've noticed. And when you get to university, you can't cheat. ChatGPT and all that, all of these AI software parts where you have to write essays, or you can write essays, they can use the same AI software to judge if you're cheating. So don't use it. I think there's a belief as well with IELTS that it's too hard, so they have to think about other ways, you know. Especially in China and India, there were massive organizations that would take your money and they would send someone to sit the exam for you. When you go to the universities, you can see who can't speak English properly. And I did a master's degree about 8 years ago now, and I when I spoke to people on the course and other courses, I thought there's no way you got a 7 in IELTS. I've taught it for years. I know what your level is just by talking to you. So, and guess what? These people didn't last on the course. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about going to university, please have a think about how you will cope on your degree program if you don't understand the language. But in the same breath, have a little bit more faith in yourself, because you can do it. It's not as hard as you think, as long as you do it right and you put the work in. So just start early. There are some great YouTube channels to help you just repeat activities. You've got IELTS Liz. It's an older channel, but the IELTS course hasn't really changed. You've got IELTS Advantage. They're very enthusiastic in teaching IELTS. Watch these channels. And as long as your English level is up to upper intermediate, make sure it's upper intermediate. You get a good pass rate, upper intermediate general English, before you do IELTS. And that's all I'll say. So thank you for watching. Please check out another video. Thank you.